Hi, I just wanted to kind of review what my life was like living with the swords. Now, when I say living with the swords, I often live a tarot card a day, and it helps me to become very conscious and very aware of what is going on in my life, and it also increases the synchronicity. And I just had a really interesting 10 days. Excuse me. I just had a really interesting 10 days with the swords. So the first day was the Ace of Swords, and something came up on Facebook. It was just one of those quizzes, and it was about what your name in Japanese means. And my name in Japanese meant samurai, and I had just done the Ace of Swords video in Tiffany Talks Tarot and had spoken about how it reminded me of the samurai. So that happened when I was on the Ace of Swords. When I was on the Two of Swords, I woke up to a message saying bits of my online funnel weren't communicating with other bits of my online funnel. But knowing that I was on the Two of Swords gave me more acceptance, and I was like, yeah, okay, well, what do you expect? Today is the Two of Swords. And as I went into that acceptance, I got another email through saying it's all been fixed. Straight away that happened. And then also, it was quite interesting because I had to say no to quite a few people. And I've been having quite a few blocks in my life. But as I was saying no to quite a few people, and from this place of integrity, things were turning around, things were opening. And so for the first time, I'd actually seen the Two of Swords as much more about having your internal boundaries in place, and still how it's to do with integrity. And if we have that integrity and internal boundaries, then we're no longer blocked. And I thought, that's fascinating. I've been working with the tarot for a long time, and I don't read books. I don't have loads of decks. The way that it teaches me is through living them, and I see them. I mean, I know the astrology, I know the numerology, I know the mythology, but meanings, I don't do it via meanings. I connect with them on a daily basis and see what happens in my life. And what happens from that is it helps me get out of any little box that I have put them in of this card means this or this card means that. And what happened on this day was a really good example of that. So then I went on to the Three of Swords, and I had two conversations in the morning. One with somebody who was in a love triangle, and I don't have that much anymore because I don't do tarot readings so much anymore. I'm much more in the teaching. And the second one had smashed her ankle and had got plates put in, and the conversation was all around that. So that was really interesting. The Four of Swords, I'm trying to remember what happened on the Four of Swords, and it's not coming to my yes, that's what happened. I happened to be on the Four of Swords on All Souls Day, and it was my first All Souls Day here in Spain. And here in Spain, they really honour All Souls Day. And I've noticed that it's quite a noisy culture. I've been here a couple of weeks. I've noticed it's quite a noisy culture. And actually, you know, it's quite interesting because on the day of All Souls Day, it was like any sign of life, there was none. It was like you could hear a pin drop. There were other things that happened that day as well, which were really strong about the Four of Swords, but that was a biggie. So yeah, that's the one that comes to mind at the moment. Five of Swords was really interesting because something I was doing about my launch wasn't working at all. So it was a launch to get new clients to come onto the Transformational Truth of Tarot, and it wasn't working at all whatsoever. So I was like, okay, forget all that marketing stuff. And I just sent my thoughts up to Spirit and I said, just send me the people that are right. Send me the people that are right. And I did this on the Four of Swords, actually. And then on the Five of Swords, somebody had booked a few sessions of tarot, because I do them as packages, and hardly ever do that service anymore anyway. So it was a bit like, oh, this is interesting. And when I spoke to her, she was saying that the Five of Swords was haunting her without her knowing that I was on the Five of Swords. And the Five of Swords was in her reading as well. And she was saying she's seeing it absolutely everywhere. And I know that she will go on to be a client in terms of on the transformational truth of tarot. I knew she was being sent to me for that, but it was like, let's connect on a one-to-one basis first. It was really powerful. So then I said to my group, come on, let's do a group meditation, the group of students in the Transformational Truth of Tarot. And I said, let's do a group meditation where we actually ask, collectively for the right people to find us. And I came off of that, and there was an email in my email box, in my inbox, from a student from maybe 5 or 6 years ago, saying that she wanted to continue with her tarot studies. So that was the Six of Swords, was like picking up where he left off and finding progress in a different way. And then on the Seven of Swords, they started drilling outside my house. It was just like all day, for days actually. So I think I've only just realised that it's not been today, it was yesterday. So that was really, really strong. It was like, this drilling is going on. And it was lots of weird things with services that didn't make any sense. It was a convoluted day. This was a very powerful day, the Eight of Swords. It was the first time I went to the Albacete. The Albacete area in Granada is where I'm not sure if I'm saying things right, Alhambra Palace is. And it's to do with the Moorish culture. So it's very Moroccan. And there was a queen who had to flee, and she fled to Lathubia, where I live, before going to the Alpujarras Mountains. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. And I really was like, this feels like the story of the Eight of Swords, massively. And what was really powerful was when I came home in the evening, I was playing around with new images for adverts. And I was doing an image of a woman blindfolded and then a woman not blindfolded. And I didn't even click until after I'd done the whole advert. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Nine of Swords, Mars in Gemini, is a placement that I have, which means I shoot my mouth off. My friend had invited me over for lunch with her parents. Probably not a great idea. Traditionalist Catholics. I was trying my hardest to be really reserved, but I kind of got her into trouble and myself into trouble through not being able to be very restricted. I felt a bit young again. I felt like a bad teenage girl influence, but it was a little bit like this. Okay, Ten of Swords yesterday. Having to let go of an awful lot of stuff, a lot of disappointment, and actually there was a feeling of peace with it. So there we go. Sometimes the cards are really, really literal, and sometimes they aren't about you, but about what's going on around you, although that is a mirror. I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you for listening, and maybe, try it yourself and let me know what happens. You can do that as well on a call, You can just click that link in that box, where it says description, and make it happen. Take care for now. Bye-bye.